Part 5. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 41. Chen Yuejuan looked at the sun and saw that it was not far from noon. She immediately said, "Then I'll wait." Zishan quickly led people into the room and said, "Ms. Chen, come in and sit down, and I'll pour you some water." In fact, autumn is the season of the tiger. There was no difference between the inside and outside of the house, it was all very hot. As soon as Chen Yuejuan entered the house, all the matchmakers from the village came over to say hello. "By the way, I want to find out which girl the other party is proposing to marry." After Chen Yuejuan dealt with them one by one, she didn't say that she was here for Chiao Moli. He only said that he came to ask Wu Wei about the project because of the old man. After the pleasantries, the few remaining matchmakers who didn't say hello were all from other villages. Chen Yuejuan touched it secretly. "I'm afraid these are all from Haozuang village, and the fourth disciple, Zai Ke, is from that village. This kid was so virtuous after drinking last night. He might be talking loudly when he gets home." After thinking about it in this way, Chen Yuejuan had an idea. Zishan came over with a glass of water and said heartbrokenly, "Good boy, stop working, I'm not thirsty." Even so, Zishan still loves the house and the bird. He also specially handed a fan to Chen Yuejuan. Looking back, I realized that the matchmakers who came earlier were still able to sit still without fans. Fortunately, before Chen Yuejuan's glass of water could cool down, Xiaochun came back in a hurry. As soon as I entered the courtyard, I saw so many people sitting in the dark hall. Xiaochun also subconsciously thought that she had entered the wrong house. I glanced around and confirmed. That's right. The family is surrounded by walls, everything is poor and the other is white. Not even an ounce of meat could be felt from the rhubarb, which was so hot that it stuck out its tongue. Then, Zishan appeared like a savior. Xiaochun adapted to the light in the house and gradually recognized these prominent matchmakers in the village. After all, before, in order to find a wife for my second brother, as a younger sister, she often came forward to beg them. It's a pity that my family's conditions were there at that time. Not a single matchmaker was willing to do this, and they all ignored it. Now that the second brother is so promising, these people all come to his door uninvited. Unlike Zishan, who was ignorant, Xiaochun had already seen through all this. Human relationships are warm and cold, and the world is hot and cold. Nothing is better than this. However, her behavior is not that extreme. It's not as if you were indifferent to me yesterday, and today I will make it impossible for you to reach your heights. Those who come are guests." Xiaochun still greeted everyone one by one regardless of past suspicions. After just saying hello, Xiaochun became even more elated and proud. Because the girls introduced by these matchmakers were beyond the reach of the second brother in the past. Now, Xiaochun only feels that they are not as good as Yang Qiao, let alone Qiao Yuyan. Rao is so. Xiaochun still responded one by one and promised the other party that he would definitely tell his second brother. After a while, the matchmakers gradually dispersed. Only Chen Yuejuan was left alone. Wu Xiaochun knew that this was Qiao Yuyan's biological mother and a respected elder in the village. So be extra respectful and courteous. "Aunt Chen, when you come here today, are you coming to marry my second brother like them?" Xiaochun said this casually. After all, Chen Yuejuan is Sister Yuyan's biological mother. There is no way that she can come to marry Sister Yuyan. How did Xiaochun know that if Chen Yuejuan came over this time, she could propose marriage to the party secretary's daughter? So saying this directly blocked Chen Yuejuan's mouth. Chen Yuejuan swallowed the words as soon as they reached her lips. Then he asked about the old man first. "Son, tell me the truth. Your second brother clamored to ask my old man to come out to help. Is he sincere or just talking casually?" When Xiaochun heard this, she said categorically, "Of course you are sincere, Aunt Cheng. You don't know that when the second brother is at home, he often mentions the fifth master. The second brother is young and is out in public. I wish I had an elder to help me. Aunt Cheng, you also know that the elder of our family passed away early. It's not easy for the second brother to succeed today, all by himself. So you and the fifth master, don't doubt his sincerity. Upon hearing this, Chen Yuejuan felt sorry for Wu Wei and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Now the old man should be able to sleep peacefully. Child, I'm not afraid of your jokes if I say it. After hearing what the fourth disciple said last night, he responded verbally, but actually he didn't sleep all night. My heart is full of butterflies in my stomach, and I've been scratching all night long. Now that you have said this, I feel relieved. A heart-to-heart conversation brought the two families closer in an instant. Xiaochun even revealed in advance, Aunt Cheng, the second brother said last night that he plans to personally ask the fifth master to come out for help when he comes back from work today. As he said that, he took out the cigarettes and wine from another bag at home and said, "Look, these gifts have been bought." Chen Yuejuan said quickly, "My child, please don't. Just go as long as your brother goes. You don't need to bring anything with you. I'll entertain you with good wine and good food. It's not easy for you three brothers and sisters to live like this. Sparing a little bit of money in everything will make your life better." Xiaochun didn't argue too much with Chen Yuejuan about this matter. Anyway, the second brother decides everything personally. Whatever he wants, so be it. But after such proof, it is much more convincing. Even Chen Yuejuan's eyebrows and eyes relaxed. Finally, he turned the topic back and said, "Child, those matchmakers just now were from our village and from other villages. Do you think your second brother likes any of them?" Hearing this, Xiaochun directly kicked the ball to Wu Wei and said, "Auntie Cheng, our family's affairs are all decided by the second brother. As a younger sister, I can only tell the second brother these clues one by one, and in the end he has to be willing." Chen Yuejuan nodded, "That should be it." Then she calmed down and said tactfully, "Child, to be honest, I came here today, first for the old man's matter, and second, to find a wife for your second brother. You should know Sister Jasmine from the secretary's family, right? She is also 20 years old, not young anymore, and you know the conditions. You can ask your second brother later, okay?" After hearing this, Xiaochun's mind went through many twists and turns. Who could have thought? Who could have thought? Sister Yuyan's mother actually came to propose marriage for her niece. How unwilling is she to marry her daughter to my second brother? Besides, it is no less difficult to marry the daughter of the old branch secretary than to marry Sister Yuyan. But then again, even the daughter of the old branch secretary is willing to marry my second brother. My second brother's popularity is really rising. Of course, Xiaochun did not show these thoughts on her face, and she did not say a word. She only assured Chen Yuejuan, "Auntie Cheng, don't worry, I will tell my second brother the truth and let him think about it carefully." Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 42. Sent Chen Yuejuan away. Xiaochun let out a sigh of relief and stepped into the vegetable garden to pick some vegetables for cooking. Zishun followed behind and asked, "Third sister, why didn't the second brother send you back today? If he saw so many people coming to him to find a wife today, he would wake up laughing in his dreams, right?" Xiaochun buried her head in the vegetable garden and picked a handful of beans, and then bent down to pick 2 eggplants. "The second brother is so busy now, don't make trouble for him if you can. It's a short distance, I'll be home in a while. Besides, the second brother may not be interested in girls from ordinary families now." At this moment, Wu Wei, who was at Zheng Laohan's house, didn't know all this. He was burying his head in the table outside the yard, concentrating on thinking about the design of the meat processing factory. This time, it was noon unknowingly. Until Zike, who was off work, came over and guessed, "It seems that you have also won the factory project." Wu Wei threw away the carpenter pencil in his hand, straightened up and said, "It's almost there. Once we get the blueprint, it will be a done deal." Even though Zike had expected this. But facing Wu Wei's nonchalant attitude, he still couldn't help but said indignantly, "Why is it that everything is as simple as eating and drinking water in your mouth?" Master Gao next to him teased, "Old Zai, did you just figure it out?" Master Chen also echoed, "If you ask me, don't be unconvinced." "That's right. Just like the two of us, you just follow the foreman to move bricks and lay walls." Zai K nodded, "That's right, you two came before me, so you can see it clearly." After that, he threw a cigarette to Wu Wei, turned around and pulled Master Chen and Master Gao to the side to smoke and chat. Wu Wei got the chance, put the cigarette in his mouth and lit it. He felt the change in his pocket, which was enough for a phone call. He walked to the nearby store, picked up the public phone, and called Boss Cheng in the east of the city. When the boss heard the call, Wu Wei wanted to purchase more goods, and more goods. His attitude was more enthusiastic than that of his own father. He immediately said, "Master Wu, are you still in the meat processing factory last time?" "Wait, I will come to find you later." Wu Wei thought about it and agreed. The materials needed for the two small Western-style buildings this time are not just bricks, sand, and cement. Not only that, the quantity is not a small number. It is definitely difficult to explain on the phone. It took less than half an hour to come back from the store. Just as Yang Kiao's meal was ready, Boss Cheng came over with 2 roast chickens. Good guy, he came at the right time. Fortunately, he didn't come empty-handed, he was sensible. Even so, 2 roast chickens were not enough to share. Wu Wei held a bowl of rice, topped with Yang Kiao's stew, and a chicken leg brought by Boss Cheng. He ate with relish. While his mouth was full of oil, he did not forget to confirm with Boss Cheng, "Have you really eaten?" Boss Cheng swallowed his saliva and said, "Really, would I lie to you?" Wu Wei further probed, "How about some more? Don't think our food is bad." Boss Cheng couldn't wait any longer, "Come on, you eat first, I'll go around first. After you finish eating, we can talk." Or else, Boss Cheng is sensible. After a round of walking, he came back with 2 more watermelons. Everyone had just finished lunch, and they quickly got some watermelons to press down, feeling very happy. This time, Boss Cheng was determined not to be tense, and ate watermelons with everyone else, becoming one of them. So they were full and satisfied. The small workers and several big workers found a place to take a lunch break. Wu Wei took the tea poured by Yang Chiao, spread out the drawings on the table, and began to place an order for Boss Cheng. Boss Cheng held a small notebook and held the pencil. The more he wrote, the more excited he became. This time he really didn't come in vain, he made a fortune. Not only is the quantity large and the variety wide, but there are also many uncommon materials, and the profit margin is also large. Wu Wei looked back and saw that Boss Cheng's hand holding the pencil couldn't help shaking. "Is it that serious, Boss Cheng?" "I'm sorry to make you laugh, Boss Wu. Old Cheng, really didn't expect to have this day so soon." Wu Wei raised his eyebrows, "Why doesn't it sound like a good word?" "Puh, fu," Boss Cheng said immediately, "Good words, absolutely good words. Master Wu, you can make it bigger and stronger, and I'll just follow behind and drink some broth." After saying this, Boss Cheng bent his back even lower. The two of them estimated the main building materials and finally talked about the terrazzo, flooring, or floor tiles required for the ground. Boss Cheng said frankly, "I have never bought flooring or floor tiles. I heard that the higher UPS don't allow them to be used, right?" Wu Wei nodded. He vaguely remembered this. But when he talked to Zhang Yan, he didn't care about this and said too much. In fact, most of the floors in China nowadays are solid wood floors. They are made by some local timber factories using some scraps and waste. In addition, the installation is time-consuming and labor-intensive, and you have to polish and paint it yourself. Compared with the various mature craft floors in later generations, it is far inferior. So it is not used much. Then you should focus on asking about terrazzo. Boss Cheng buried his head and wrote it down. Terrazzo is already very fashionable, why do you need wooden floors? The two of them sorted out the materials for the two small Western-style buildings for an hour or so, and finally sorted out the materials for the two small Western-style buildings. Looking up, Boss Cheng's eyes fell on the factory building drawing that Wu Wei had not finished drawing. What is this, Master Wu? This is another job, Wu Wei said casually, it's not finished yet, no rush. Boss Cheng's eyes flickered. Seeing that the size was not small, the amount of building materials needed was probably not less than these two small buildings. So he took the opportunity to go to the toilet and went to the store to buy 2 Hungtashan cigarettes. Wu Wei refused to accept it. He insisted on stuffing it into Wu Wei's hand. 2 Hungtashan cigarettes, not a small amount of money, but Boss Cheng knew that he had to spend money. With such a large amount of money for 2 buildings today, Wu Wei called him without saying a word. He himself, he couldn't be ignorant. After stuffing the cigarette, Boss Cheng hurried to leave. Wu Wei hurriedly walked 2 steps forward, but Boss Cheng insisted on not letting him go. Wu Wei could only remind him, for materials such as steel bars and aluminum alloys that are in short supply, you'd better prepare them in advance, so as not to delay things. Boss Cheng raised his hand and said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." Compared to Wu Wei, who was busy this afternoon, the 2 sisters in the fence courtyard were not much better. A simple lunch was just ready. Xiaochun and Zishun just held the big bowl and squatted under the shade of the tree at the door to eat. Then they saw someone on the village road, turning towards their home. Zishun's mouth was bulging, and he was stunned and said, "We just sent away a wave this morning, and there will be another wave in the afternoon? Are you really planning to not stop until you break our door?" Xiaochun took a few bites of the food, and stuffed the big bowl to the youngest sister and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? Yanzi Yifei, please vote and recommend. The manuscript is almost finished. If you don't vote, he won't vote. The author can't write monkeys. Even the donkey in the production team needs to eat some good feed." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 43. Wu's Fence Yard. Compared with the gathering of matchmakers in the morning, the folks who come in the afternoon have more purposes. Except for a few matchmakers who missed the trip and came from afar. Most of them came to Wu Wei to apply for a job. He also carried various gifts in his hand. As a result, Wu Xiaochun's pressure suddenly increased. That's how it is in rural areas. It's okay if everything doesn't involve human contact. Once it involves human relations, you must be cautious, clear, and unambiguous. Even among these people, some of them have unfamiliar faces and have no relationship with the Wu family. But when someone comes with a gift, you have to explain whether you should accept it or not. Once it's accepted, it's time to do it. If you can't do it, you have to return the gift. In this way, it is very important for Xiaochun to clearly record the correspondence between rituals and people. Thanks to these days, the fake collar business has given Xiaochun a lot of exercise. At least facing faces from all over the country, some familiar or unfamiliar. We have to be able to open our mouths and say hello to let people in. Then ask some clichés and find out the whole story. Then push and pull appropriately, Push as much as you can. If you really can't avoid it, use the tip of a pencil to put it on the paper and record it clearly. Let the second brother Wu Wei come back before making a decision. Even so, Wu Xiaochun still felt that his brain was about to burst. So many people came in one day, talking about relatives and talking about things. It's simply more tiring than selling fake collars and greeting customers. Not to mention she was tired, and the whole task of making her fake collar was completely delayed, so she had to stay up late tonight to do it. Otherwise, we will have to empty out tomorrow and won't be able to go to the market. I was busy until the next evening. Until Wu Wei returned to Daowen village with Yang Qiao, the crowd in the fence yard had not dispersed. From a distance, while Wu Wei was still resting on the village road, he saw a crowd of people in his fenced yard. My heart skipped a beat and I was about to rush back to take a look. Suddenly I thought that rhubarb didn't seem to be barking. It should be fine, Xiaochun can handle it. Arriving at the intersection of his home, Wu Wei was about to turn down the village road when he suddenly saw a figure not far away, which seemed a bit familiar. At that time, he jumped out of the car. He pushed the car into Yang Qiao's arms, ran straight over and said, "Master." That's right, this person is none other than Mr. Qiao, who has been wandering at the intersection of Wu's house for a long time. The hesitant figure was all too familiar to Wu Wei. It was only when this call came out that I felt it was inappropriate and quickly changed my words. "Master Qiao, why are you here? Come sit with me at home." While talking, Wu Wei took out some plum blossoms and dispersed them. Fifth Master Qiao was somewhat unaccustomed to being called Master Qiao by such a young boy. But when I think about this boy's future in the city and his reputation in the village, it seemed that there was nothing wrong with Tuo calling himself Master Qiao. After taking the cigarette, Qiao Wei drew a circle casually and explained in a somewhat vague way, "I just walked around casually and transferred it to your house. Are you just back from work?" Wu Wei polished the match, handed it over and said, "Yes, Master Zai, Master, he also just rode back from the entrance of our village." Fifth Master Qiao smoked his pipe and said, "Is it feasible for him to do it?" "That's great," Wu Wei said immediately, "after all, I am your disciple, Master Qiao, so what can't be done?" These words immediately made Master Qiao feel a lot worried, and even his face became brighter. "I heard that you can not only read the drawings, but also draw the drawings yourself. Design the drawings." Wu Wei immediately said, "It will take a while, Master Qiao. But my ability is limited after all. Not only the meat factory that I just took over today, but I still have a lot of problems on the drawings. Otherwise, Master Qiao, you can give me the answer." After saying that, without giving the master a chance to shirk, he turned around and brought in the drawings. Fifth Master Qiao was curious about what the child's drawings looked like. I didn't bother to shirk it, I already saw it. Only in the evening light, Wu Wei could barely see the drawings clearly. But Fifth Master Qiao found it difficult to watch. Upon seeing this, Wu Wei said, "If there weren't too many people at home, I would definitely invite Master Qiao to sit at home and ask for advice slowly." These words all point to this point. Fifth Master Qiao said without hesitation, "How about going to my house?" Wu Wei felt happy in his heart, but said, "Isn't it too disturbing? After all, now is." Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Fifth Master Qiao, "Why bother? Let's go." Wu Wei turned around and waved to Yang Qiao, telling her not to wait. Then he followed the majestic Fifth Master Qiao all the way to the Qiao family compound. This was the first time since his rebirth that he had stepped through the door of his master's house. The distant memories and everything in front of me gradually overlapped. The kindness of the mistress, the beauty of Yuyan, all make people feel a pleasant breath of life. At master's house, the food is already on the table. 3 coin cups and loose wine were also arranged. "Auntie," I asked master for advice. Maybe I came at the wrong time. I had called him Master Chiao all the way, but now I changed my name to Master. I don't think Fifth Master thought it was out of the ordinary. Chen Yuejuan saw that Wu Wei was really here. It doesn't matter whether he comes to visit the old man in person or asks for advice. He immediately said, "You're here just in time, I'm going to stir-fry 2 more dishes. Yuyan, you go to the Kunbu cold vegetable shop to get some snacks to go with the wine." As a result, Chiao Yuyan didn't move. Because he was looking at brother Wu Wei with bright eyes and couldn't pull it out. It wasn't until Chen Yuejuan called for the second time that Chiao Yuyan came back to her senses and left happily. When Mr. Chiao saw his precious daughter, she was as happy as if she was celebrating the new year. A sudden thought occurred in my heart, it's broken, it's inviting a wolf into the house. But this thought was fleeting. Fifth Master Chiao was quickly attracted by the drawings at hand. Under the fluorescent tubes hanging in the main room, the first thing that caught his eye was the set of drawings of the small Western-style building. "My dear, this drawing is so realistic. What Lao Si said yesterday was not an exaggeration at all. Not only is it not an exaggeration, but it does not convey the subtlety of this drawing at all. The design of floor beams, ring beams, and structural columns not only takes into account the needs of the overall structure of the house, but also considers the needs of the division of room types, which is quite integrated and smooth." Mr. Chiao tried to change the positions of some of the structural pillars. After careful consideration, it is not as good as the position set on this drawing. This kid can do this. The talent is almost magical. Just when Mr. Chiao was secretly shocked, the voices of the party secretary's wife and the 4th sister-in-law next door came from a long distance away. "His 5th aunt, I heard from Yuyan that the boy from the Wu family is here. Where is he? Let me see him quickly." Chen Yuejuan came out of the kitchen to greet him, and said with a complicated mood, "Xiao Wu came to ask his father for advice on drawings. Don't scare the children." The party secretary's wife stopped pretending at all and said happily, "The mother-in-law will only become more and more happy when she looks at her son-in-law. How can I scare him?" Wu Wei in the main room was confused. He had just lifted his butt off the stool and was half sitting up. He didn't know whether he should stand up to greet her. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 44. Wu Wei hesitated. The secretary's wife and the 4th sister-in-law took Chen Yuejuan to the door of the main hall. Chiao Wei was fascinated by the blueprint and didn't want to pay attention to these women. Wu Wei could only stand up properly and tidy up his clothes. After all, the mud and sweat smell from a day's work actually affect his image more than wrinkled and old clothes. But Wu Wei couldn't care. As a result, the secretary's wife took a look. She was more and more happy and said, "The young man is really good-looking and energetic. He has the style of Mr. Wu in the past." The 4th sister-in-law could only nod. After all, the future mother-in-law has taken a fancy to him, so what else can she, as a sister-in-law, do? Chen Yuejuan felt uncomfortable, but there was nothing she could do. I could only urge the 2 sisters-in-law, "Okay, let's take a look. Come here, I have something to ask you." As he said that, he pulled the secretary's wife, who was still unsatisfied, to the kitchen door and said, "We 3 just talked last night, how come so many matchmakers came to Xiao Wu's door this morning? Who of you 2 told it?" Hearing this, the secretary's wife said embarrassedly, "I went home last night and got excited, so I called Jasmine's 2nd and 3rd aunts." The 4th sister-in-law followed reluctantly and said, "I went to work in the fields this morning and met some people. I chatted and said a few words." Chen Yuejuan heard it. As expected, the culprit was found, it was them. However, the secretary's wife didn't care at all and said, "Let them find it. I want to see which girl's conditions are better than my Jasmine." The chatter at the door. It didn't affect the gestures of the father and son in the main room at all. After reading the 2 sets of drawings of the small Western-style building, Chiao Hui's face was full of radiance. That satisfaction was more than drinking. Back to the drawings of the meat processing plant mentioned by Wu Wei at the beginning. The exchange between the father and son was hearty and unreserved. Chiao Hui found that Wu Wei took over the second half of many sentences he had just said. Even with just a gesture or a look, Wu Wei understood instantly. So much so that Chiao Hui felt that he had met Wu Wei too late. It would be great if this was really his apprentice. The factory drawings were discussed in detail. The father and son put away the drawings and lit a cigarette. Chiao Hui then asked a question that any normal person would think of. You have such a good craftsmanship, why did you work in the Zishan factory for so long before, wasting time? This question is indeed a bit puzzling. Wu Wei pondered and said half-truthfully, Master, I have always wanted to run a brick kiln factory. After all, we bricklayers are inseparable from bricks and tiles. Chiao Hui's heart moved. This child has some vision and perspective. At this time, Chiao Yuyan came back with a cold vegetable salad and a dish of bacon slices. Chen Yuejuan also sent away the 2 sisters-in-law, and came into the house with a plate of peanuts and a plate of fried eggs with chives. You 2 should wash up quickly, and we will have dinner after washing. Chiao Hui stood up first, and Wu Wei followed immediately. Arrived at the hand-operated well. Chiao Hui drew a basin of water and washed very seriously. Wu Wei waited silently behind him, and when he finished washing, he would wash himself. As a result, Chiao Yuyan suddenly pulled him over and pointed at a beautiful porcelain basin with flowers and a fragrant towel and said, Brother Wu Wei, wash here. When Wu Wei saw it, he waved his hands and said, that won't do. He had never seen such a porcelain basin and towel in his life. He had seen many in his previous life. This was Chiao Yuyan's own wash basin and face towel. How could he, a rough man, dare to use it? It was fortunate that Master Chiao Hui was washing his face with cold water and didn't see it. If she had seen it, wouldn't she have kicked herself out? Chiao Yuyan's pretty face was stern. Why, do you dislike my basin and towel? Wu Wei said frankly, look at me, I'm afraid I'll get you dirty. Chiao Yuyan said confidently, I'm not afraid, what are you afraid of? Since it came to this, Wu Wei had no choice but to use it. But then again, Chiao Yuyan's towel smelled really good. It's unimaginable how fragrant she would be. Unfortunately, Master Chiao Wu was almost done washing, so Wu Wei didn't dare to listen. He hurriedly washed his face, hands, and arms, and quietly lowered his voice to promise, I'll buy you a new towel later. Chiao Yuyan took the towel and wash basin used by Wu Wei without any disdain and said, who cares? Back to the main room. Master Chiao Wu sat in the main seat, and Wu Wei sat on his right. Chiao Yuyan sat on Wu Wei's right in a dignified manner. Master Chiao Wu frowned, but didn't say it directly. He just pointed at the ration wine on the table and said, today is Wu Wei's first time to come to our house for dinner. How can he drink this wine? Chen Yuejuan didn't fully understand, and kicked the ball to her daughter and said, then drink the Jianan Chun that Lao Si brought last time, Yuyan, you go and get it. As a result, Chiao Yuyan refused, no. No one is allowed to drink that bottle of wine. Chen Yuejuan was surprised. But Master Chiao Wu didn't think much about it. Because he originally didn't want to drink Jianan Chun, but the Maotai he treasured. Go get it, old woman, get the Maotai. Chen Yuejuan realized the seriousness of the problem. The old man has collected those 2 bottles of Maotai for many years. Every time someone came back and wanted to drink, he would refuse on the grounds that he would drink when his daughter came out of the palace. Now that Wu Wei came, the old man immediately made an exception. Chen Yuejuan was startled and let it go. If the old man wants to drink, let him. Anyway, My daughter Yuyan missed the boy in front of her, and if she wants to find a better one, she doesn't know she will have to wait until the year of the monkey. Wu Wei waited until he got the Maotai liquor before he remembered such an incident in his previous life. While pouring wine for Mr. Chiao, he said, "Master, once the construction of the meat factory is completed, I will buy you a box of Maotai to keep." Fifth Master Chiao also said happily, "Then I'll wait." But Chen Yuejuan said distressedly, "Wait? You know that Xiao Wu will be alone." Chiao Yuyan pouted and agreed, "That's right." Fifth Master Chiao didn't take it seriously. He was really happy today. The master and the apprentice exchanged cups and drank a bottle of mutai in no time. Mr. Chiao Wu was still unfinished and wanted to open a second bottle, but Wu Wei stopped him and said, "Master, let's stop drinking as the water flows slowly. Besides, I have to trouble you to recruit more master craftsmen for me tomorrow. I only have 5 on hand now, including senior brothers I." Fifth Master Chiao readily agreed, "Okay, I'll take care of this." Then he shouted, serve rice, serve rice, serve Xiao Wu quickly." So Chen Yuejuan got up and went to Shen, and Xiao Yuyan also rushed to go. While the two of them were away, Wu Wei leaned over and said to Mr. Chiao, "Master, I have something else that I would like to ask your help for. Who would marry into the family after being reborn?" Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 45. Master Chiao Wu narrowed his eyes. "This boy made a point of mentioning it when my mother-in-law was not around. Could it be that he wanted to take the opportunity to make some excessive demands?" Fortunately, Wu Wei didn't make any fuss with him and got straight to the point. "Master, you should have heard about the Xiao family's affairs. Now Xiao Decay asks Yang Chiao to make up for the bride price. This is inappropriate. Can you discuss it with the old party secretary and let the village come forward? After all, it's not easy for Chiao to earn some money by doing a small job. This is it." Master Chiao's face turned red and his heart relaxed. The old face turned red because, despite his age, he was already a bit of a villain. Naturally, I felt relieved because the problem I was worried about did not happen. For Fifth Master, as long as he doesn't want to marry his own daughter, everything else is easy. You are right about this, Xiao Decay is indeed unreasonable. I'll discuss it with my third brother tomorrow and see how we can do the work. But you must also be mentally prepared. Once it is revealed, Yang Chiao will stay in the Xiao family." Wu Wei nodded, "I understand, Master. Chiao is a good girl. I will save her until the end, and I will definitely help her get settled properly." Fifth Master Chiao thought about it in his heart. It seemed that this boy really fell in love with the little widow. It's all in vain for my own girl to get on the pole again. It's just a pity. With his ability, it was wrong to marry a young widow who was married for the second time. Forget it, I will help him more from now on. The right should be compensation. After dinner. Seeing that it was getting late, Wu Wei stood up and left. Half a bottle of Maotai is not enough to do anything to him. In the end, Chiao Yuyan decided to give him away. Even if Mr. Chiao's eyes were about to pop out, it would be of no avail. Wu Wei frowned, feeling helpless. "This is being sent back and forth, I don't know how long I will be tossing it tonight." After all, Wu Wei couldn't let Chiao Yuyan come back alone after seeing him off. "Leave the Chiao family compound." Wu Wei walked in front, and Chiao Yuyan followed beside him. On a night with bright moonlight and sparse stars, the silhouettes of two people are long, sometimes overlapping and sometimes overlapping. Until Chiao Yuyan suddenly mentioned, "Brother Wu Wei, do you know what day it is today?" Wu Wei was stunned. Since his rebirth, he has been so busy that he hits the back of his head every day. He really doesn't know what year it is today. Chiao Yuyan was not surprised. She just raised her finger and pointed at the filled-in starry sky and said, "Look, the Milky Way is so bright tonight." Wu Wei understood instantly. Today is the Chinese Valentine's Day, the day when the cowherd and the weaver girl meet on the Magpie Bridge. No wonder she insisted on giving it to herself. Xiao Yuyan chuckled, "It seems you are not stupid either." This smile immediately stunned Wu Wei. She is even more beautiful tonight than when she was kicked out while dancing with him in her previous life. Wu Wei felt that he was a little drunk. Wine does not intoxicate people, people intoxicate themselves. While I was intoxicated, I heard Xiao Yuyan mention it leisurely. You said this was the best of times and the worst of times. Then what do you think is waiting for us in the future? This tone is typical of a young artistic woman. Wu Wei said drunkenly, I don't know what is waiting for me in the future. Anyway, what awaits you in the future is a decent life in the county. You will have a husband who works in a government agency and a lively and lovely daughter. When I go back to my parents' house every now and then, Master can't wait to use a loudspeaker to broadcast it so that the whole village knows. However, before he finished speaking, Xiao Yuyan interrupted angrily. I think you've drunk too much. Go back by yourself. After saying that, he turned around and left. Wu Wei suddenly woke up and then understood. He just casually told her life history in her previous life. She actually took it seriously. However, Wu Wei had no intention of catching up and explaining. Just stay far away. It wasn't until Xiao Yuyan entered the house that she returned home. Returned to the fence yard. Xiaochun stepped on the sewing machine under the window and flew up. It was delivered on this day, which completely delayed the making of the fake collar. As a result, the busier it gets, the more chaos it creates. There was a click, and the thread needle got stuck again. Xiu Chunguan couldn't step on it, so she gave the plane's nose a few blows angrily. This old-fashioned butterfly sewing machine is still the treasure of the old lady. It has been over 10 years now. Every now and then, it's either bad here or blocked there. Really annoying. Wu Wei put down the drawing and said, is it broken again? Why don't you go to the department store and buy a new one, then throw away the old one? Anyway, our family can afford 100 yuan now. After all, if you want to do your job well, you must first sharpen your tools. Xiaochun is worried, and it costs about 100 yuan to listen to it. His mood immediately stabilized and he said, this machine is not unusable, so let's make do with it for now. When my second brother gets married, we will buy a new one and kill two birds with one stone. There's nothing wrong with this penny-pinching guy. Wu Wei asked, how long will it take to wait? Xiaochun heard the implication of these words directly. Is it not going well today? I heard from Aunt Cheng that the fifth master values you very much. Wu Wei shook his head, there is no problem at all in asking Mr. Wu to work on the project. But marrying his girl will cost him his life. It's not easy. Xiaochun sighed and said, why don't you marry Xiao Xiao? Xiao Xiao will definitely be happy. At this time, Zishan interrupted and said, I don't agree, third sister. The more difficult it is, the more we should face it. Only love that comes together and succeeds in this way will be happy in the future. Wu Wei was unmoved. Xiaochun saw it and said to Zishan, go eat the food left in the pot. After sending Zishan away, Xiaochun took out the small notebook where she had written down the day. Many pages were sandwiched with photos, which looked uneven. Most of them were black and white photos. Very few were color photos, and it was obvious that they had spent a lot of money. Why don't you take a look at the girl who came to my house to propose marriage today, and there are also good conditions. Wu Wei didn't even look at her and said, if you don't look, you can reply to all of them tomorrow. Now that 3 projects are about to start, how can I have time to go on blind dates? Xiaochun had a headache. But since it was the second brother who said so, she did it unconditionally. So she turned over the pages with photos and went straight to the end of the small notebook and said, these are the people who came to you today and want to work with you. There are big workers, small workers, carpenters, bricklayers, both men and women. Many people brought gifts, and I wrote them down. Wu Wei glanced at it and said, "Tell them to go to Master Wu tomorrow. If Master Wu doesn't want them, come back to me and I will make all the arrangements. After all, the gifts have been accepted. Try to arrange those who can be arranged first. However, those who dare to come to the door in the first wave are probably quite capable. They won't fail Master Wu." But Wu Wei still reminded, if someone gives gifts tomorrow to find a job, don't accept it first. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 46. After saying all this, Xiaochun closed the notebook and said, "In addition, the Dai family in the east sent 2 fish today. The Xiao family in the west also caught a rooster and sent it over." As he spoke, Zishun came over with a large bowl with half a fish on it, eating it with great relish. Seeing this, Wu Wei said, "Before school starts, stew all the fish so that the youngest sister can replenish her brain. The rooster will be kept until the Mid-Autumn Festival, and then slaughtered for the festival." After arranging these, Wu Wei asked, "Did the 2 families say anything?" Xiaochun shook her head. Wu Wei said casually, "Then pick some suitable gifts from our family and send them back. This is the normal interaction between neighbors." But the Wu family in the past could not even withstand this normal interaction. It was late at night. After Xiaochun finished making 10 fake collars, she stood up and stretched. Even though her body was a little tired, her mind was still excited. "Since the death of my parents, the family hasn't had such a grand occasion as today for many years. It's not an exaggeration to say that it brings honor to the family. But my second brother slept soundly as if he had done something insignificant. As if all this was commonplace. It was no big deal." While Wu Wei was sleeping soundly, Qiao Yuyan was tossing and turning in bed. Her 2 bright eyes seemed to be glowing in the dark night. Glowing with resentment. What kind of person is this? In his imagination, his man was not him. Not only that, he also arranged a man from a government agency and a lively and lovely daughter for himself. Humph, I obviously like sons. And this waist and hips are the material for giving birth to sons. It's really infuriating. The next morning, just after dawn, Wu Wei set off with Xiaochun and Qiao. On the way, Wu Wei told Yang Qiao about what he had asked Qiao Wei to do yesterday in front of Xiaochun. When Yang Qiao heard that she could leave Xiao's house, she couldn't wait. She curled up in Wu Wei's arms and looked back frequently. The look she gave Wu Wei was so vivid. Wu Xiaochun in the back seat couldn't see Yang Qiao's look, but she could feel the strong aura between the two. She secretly thought that she must find an opportunity. Ask Qiao what she meant alone. Not long after, the 28-ton truck arrived at East Street. Wu Xiaochun jumped out of the car skillfully and set up a stall. Taking this opportunity, Wu Wei turned the car around and Yang Qiao also moved to the back seat. The weather was not very good today, and there were some dark clouds in the morning. Before leaving, Wu Wei specifically reminded him, "Go home early after selling. Zishun can't handle the family visit." Xiaochun nodded without raising her head and said, "Don't worry, second brother, I made 10 yesterday, and I will definitely close the stall early today." Leaving East Street, Wu Wei went straight to Zheng Laohan's house. Today is the day to finish work and count the money. When he thought about the income coming in, he couldn't help but get excited. After arriving at the site, Zai Ke, Lao Gao, and Lao Chen, as well as all the small workers, had already arrived. It seemed that they were more excited than him. The scaffolding of Zheng Laohan's house had been dismantled, and only some finishing work was left. Not to mention a day, In fact, it would not take half a day. After walking around and going downstairs, he ran into Zheng Laohan coming over with a pack of red double happiness. "Oh, Mr. Zheng, you didn't go to the factory." No. Old man Zheng shook his head and opened the cigarette box, handed over a red double happiness cigarette and said, "There will be thunderstorms today. Will there be any problems with our roof and facade?" Wu Wei took the red double happiness cigarette and said, "No. The waterproofing of the roof will be fine within 5 years, and the facade is all dry. Only the indoor skirting wall paint has not dried completely, but it doesn't matter. Just close the doors and windows." Old man Zheng was relieved and continued, "Master Wu and all the masters have worked hard during this period. Don't rush to leave after you finish your work. Let's have a simple celebratory drink at noon today." "Mr. Zheng, you are too polite to have a celebratory drink for the contractor." As he said, Wu Wei handed over the lit match. Old man Zheng protected the flame and lit the cigarette and said, "Just think of it as warming our room and helping us." This was the good intention of the host. In addition, since old man Zheng had said so much, Wu Wei couldn't refuse his kindness. He had no choice but to say, "Let Jiao Jiao help you later." Old man Zheng had already prepared, "No need, the eldest daughter will come over later, and Huimin will also come back with his girlfriend." It was said to be simple. As a result, Aunt Sun brought her eldest daughter and cooked 16 dishes directly. The wine was 2 bottles of genuine Maotai, 10 yuan a bottle. It was even more sumptuous than most people's New Year's Eve dinner. Brother Fu, who came late, took the yupinmi I handed over by Wu Wei and said, "Today is also thanks to you, Master Wu." Wu Wei did not dare to take credit for it and said, "Brother Fu, I have to thank you even more, I will toast you 2 cups later." After all, without Brother Fu, there would be no first order in the county. Without this first order, there would be no order from old man Zheng's family. Not to mention the signboard built in the family area of the meat processing factory later, which opened up the situation. So the celebratory wine was drunken and enjoyed by both the host and the guests. Finally, old man Zheng brought the wages to Wu Wei for him to collect. When Wu Wei saw the neatly arranged big unity, he knew that it meant to give him money. And it was no more, no less. This was a trust and a courtesy. Wu Wei certainly couldn't let him down. He stretched out his hand to Yang Qiao and said, "Master Zheng, let's pay the right amount. I'm not being polite to you. I'm also doing this for my own reputation." Old man Zheng glared, "Why are you wasting your time?" Wu Wei was unmoved and deducted the food expenses that Yang Qiao had borrowed from him according to the total package price. Then he counted out the extra money and pushed it back to old man Zheng, saying, "Master Zheng, this is what I should do." After saying that, Wu Wei didn't give old man Zheng a chance to push or pull. He took the remaining money and stood up and said, "Master Zheng, let me lend you a table so that I can pay the masters." So everyone stood up and ended the meal. The mess was left for Aunt Sun and her husband to clean up. In the yard, Wu Wei took the remaining package money and paid everyone on the spot. Although they were all drunk, they were very clear about their wages. No ambiguity. During this process, more and more people gathered at the door. Wu Wei didn't care and just kept busy with his own work. Finally, it was his senior brother Zik's turn. This guy was polite to him, "Forget about mine, I won't be here for a few days anyway." Wu Wei smiled and handed over the money, "Take it. If you don't take it, I have to send it to your house and give it to your sister-in-law." Lao Gao also teased him, "Old Zai, you don't want it, but I will take it." After paying the last salary, Wu Wei was about to get up. He heard Lao Chen at the door pointing to a stranger and said, "Master Wu, someone is looking for you. Who would marry into the family after being reborn?" Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 47. Someone came to the door again? Wu Wei was not surprised. In fact, although he had taken on 3 relatively large contracts, he still had a lot of small jobs these days. As long as it was not a difficult contract like Sun Erdeo, Wu Wei would take it. Then he would make unified arrangements. Anyway, now that the 5th master was helping, the 4th master would inevitably be involved. By then, all the masons and carpenters would be there. Wu Wei had no worries about not having anyone under his command. So after hearing what old Chen said, Wu Wei put the remaining money in his pocket first. He turned around and returned the tables and chairs to old man Zheng's family, and then said goodbye. When he walked out of the door, he took out a cigarette from the cigarette box and said, "Excuse me, brother, what's your last name?" As a result, the man took out the cigarette faster than him and said, "No need to be surnamed Yao." Then he gave him a Hongtashan cigarette first. Wu Wei held the cigarette in his hand, pushed and pulled with the other party, and finally accepted the other party's Hongtashan cigarette. After a brief exchange, Wu Wei called Master Chen and said, "Old Chen, go over with Brother Yao and give me a report tomorrow." This arrangement was to hand over this small job to Master Chen. It was just not convenient to say it in front of the customer. After all, they came for your signboard, and you handed it over to your subordinates without saying anything or showing your face. This is not appropriate. Watching Master Chen and Brother Yao leave, Wu Wei recruited everyone to the door of Section Chief Song's house, and there were no outsiders this time. He arranged directly, "Brother Zai, you will be responsible for the small Western-style building of Section Chief Song's house. Old Gao, Section Chief Tang's house will be handed over to you. You should get familiar with the situation first. Report to me if you need any people or anything later." After arranging all this, Boss Cheng finally came in a hurry with a briefcase. As soon as he got off the tractor, he took out a cigarette and said enthusiastically, "Master Wu, I'm late, I'm late." Wu Wei took the cigarette and said, "I thought Boss Cheng was rich and planned not to pay for the materials." After that, he took out the stack of big unity from his pocket and counted them to Boss Cheng in person. After counting, there were only 20 big unity in his hand. Except for Yang Qiao's 40 yuan wages, the rest was the profit he earned from the project of Zheng Laohan. About 180 yuan. In half a month, Wu Wei was very satisfied with so much money. What's more, without this job, there would be no subsequent 3 big jobs. He couldn't pry open the big group of masters of the 4th and 5th masters. Putting away the remaining big unity, Wu Wei took the cigarette behind his ear and lit it. He heard Boss Cheng say, "I will take all these bamboo poles away in a while, and replace them with cast iron scaffolding tomorrow." Wu Wei nodded. 2 small Western-style buildings need both ring beams and structural columns. When they are poured, they move up and down, and bamboo poles may not be able to support them. Cast iron is naturally more stable. However, Boss Cheng has spent a lot of money on this, so he naturally reminded him, "You have to take good care of that thing for me." Wu Wei understood and promised, "Don't worry, if you lose it, I will compensate you at the price." This is reasonable. Boss Cheng didn't want to say it so firmly, so he said, "That's not what I meant, Master Wu. Anyway, just be careful." Then he changed the subject and asked, "What are you going to do with the old bricks and tiles removed from these 2 houses?" Wu Wei said indifferently, "We need to consult the owner." Then he asked back, "What else can we do except use them for now?" Boss Cheng said truthfully, "If they don't want the old bricks and tiles, I'll find someone to take them away. For your sake, I'll charge you 3 cents for each intact red brick, and no money for the waste bricks. As for the floor slabs." Before he finished speaking, Wu Wei interrupted, "Thank you, 3 cents? If they don't want it, I'll take it back myself. After all, there's no wall for his own courtyard yet, and the fenced courtyard is not safe." Wu Wei is not picky about these old bricks and tiles. Watching Boss Cheng and his men take away the bamboo poles piled at the base of the wall, Wu Wei finally had some free time. After receiving their wages, Lao Zheng, Lao Lu, and Xiao Zhang, who were still lingering around, finally had the chance to come over and ask, "Master Wu, then tomorrow we will." Wu Wei looked at everyone and said, "You have all done a good job during this period. Those who want to come tomorrow can continue to come. Those who don't want to come will not be forced. After you come, whether to go with Master Zai or Master Gao, you can choose and discuss it yourself." When the workers heard this, they thanked him repeatedly and went to find Zai Ke and Lao Gao separately. Wu Wei, who had some free time, saw the Sun family again, who had received a truckload of sand and unloaded it all at the door. Not only did it occupy the road, but it was also piled up on the Zheng family's land. It was about to rain, and the sand was piled up outside like this, waiting to be washed away by the rain. Of course, Wu Wei saw it all, and tried hard not to go and make himself look bad. After a while, only Zai Ke and Master Gao came over and said, "We have checked the situation on the scene, we are going back first." Wu Wei looked up at the sky and said, "Let's go. It's going to rain soon." The sky became increasingly gloomy, and even a little windy. Master Gao got on the bike and left first. Zai Ke did not forget to ask, "It's rare to rest for half a day, why don't you go back?" Wu Wei also pushed the bike and said, "I have to go to the meat processing plant first to ask some questions." Zai Ke heard this and got on the bike, "Then I'll go first." Wu Wei waved goodbye to Zai Ke and got on the bike. He said to Yang Chiao, who had been following him, "Get on the bike and take the blueprint." He rode to the meat processing plant in one breath. The wind was getting stronger and stronger, blowing on Yang Kiao's body, and it took shape. Fortunately, the meeting with Zhang Yan and Section Chief Tang was not long, only half an hour in total. In half an hour, the sky darkened visibly. Fortunately, the matter was confirmed in person, and finally a worry was put to rest. "And I got the key, by the way. If the weather is good tomorrow, we can start demolishing the house directly. It's a pity that they don't want to use these old bricks and tiles. Let him handle it." Then Wu Wei was not polite and took all of them to his home. But in this way, when demolishing the house, the workers would have to spend more time and try to shovel the old bricks intact. Otherwise, it would be useless to pull a pile of broken bricks and tiles back. Wu Wei even planned to pay part of the workers' wages for this. Fortunately, the wages of laborers are not high nowadays. As long as each person scrapes out 100 complete red bricks every day, Wu Wei will not lose money. 200 bricks is pure profit. Coming back to his senses, Wu Wei pushed the car and said, "Sit tight, I'll ride faster, you bear it. Otherwise we will all get wet." Yang Chiao obediently protected the drawings and hugged her tightly. The thunder roared and came fiercely. Wu Wei's heart was full of pride. After all, he was reborn in the last thunderstorm. When this thunderstorm came, he had survived successfully in this era and had a good start. The future is in your hands. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 48. The cracking sound of thunder was getting lower and lower, and louder and louder. It seemed that each one was directly above the two people's heads. Wu Wei had already stood up and kicked, and the 28-bar flying disc under his feet was like an invincible wind and fire wheel. Unfortunately, no matter how fast he kicked, it was not as fast as the raindrops. At first, there were only a few drops hitting the body and clothes, forming splashing water marks. It seems that the impact is not great. But this is a precursor to a downpour. If you don't find a place to shelter from the rain immediately, you will get wet. Safety on the road is also difficult to guarantee. What's more terrible is that if the drawings in Yang Kiao's arms are really wet, they will be ruined. Wu Wei's hard work for so many days and nights will be in vain. Everything has to start all over again. Not only will it delay time, but it will also delay the construction period. Delaying the construction period means delaying making money. In a hurry, Yang Qiao suddenly found out. There was a low thatched hut standing alone in the vast fields by the road. It was a simple A-shaped hut. A bowl-thick horizontal beam was used as a beam, and several slightly inferior longwoods were used as rafters. It formed a stable isosceles triangle with the ground. From the side, it was exactly a herringbone shape. A bedboard was stuffed in the middle, and from the side, it looked like the letter A. Such huts are not uncommon in rural areas. Most of them are used to watch the crops and harvests in the fields during the busy farming season. It is perfect for sheltering from the rain. Look, there is a shed over there. After Qiao's reminder, Wu Wei also discovered the existence of the hut. Without saying a word, he turned the car around, turned off the country road, and headed straight for the field where the hut was. Finally, before the downpour came, both the people and the car hid in the hut. The hut was surprisingly clean, and there was even a straw mat on the bedboard. It's just that the edges and corners are all broken, which is better than nothing. What's more gratifying is that the whole shack has obviously been renovated not long ago. There is a fresh smell of straw inside. This means that the heavy rain will not seep in for a while. Of course, if this thunderstorm lasts until the evening or even at night, then no matter how good the shack is, it will be useless. In addition to being relieved, Wu Wei smiled and joked, "What is happiness?" Yang Qiao put away the drawings and looked back at him. Wu Wei asked himself and answered, "When it rains heavily, having such a shack to shelter from the rain is called happiness." Yang Qiao smiled knowingly. Another answer also emerged in her mind. "When I was most helpless and desperate, I met you, which is called happiness." But she didn't say it out loud. After checking the shack, the two sat down on the bedboard with confidence. They saw that the rain curtain outside was gradually getting denser, and the sky also darkened. After a little calm, Wu Wei suddenly felt uncomfortable with his clothes being half wet. He simply took them off and squeezed out the water in his hand. He really squeezed out a lot of water. Seeing this, Yang Qiao found a wooden stick from somewhere and inserted it horizontally on the waist of the shack. She took Wu Wei's clothes, shook them, and hung them up. Without the stickiness of wet clothes, Wu Wei was shirtless and felt much fresher. Yang Qiao was envious and uncomfortable. But she was a woman after all. Even if she didn't reject it in her heart, she would not take the initiative to take off her clothes in front of Wu Wei. Wu Wei saw it, and lay down on the bedboard and said, "I'll close my eyes and promise not to look." "Take off your clothes quickly, wring them, and hang them up to avoid being uncomfortable and catching a cold." After that, Wu Wei lay down and took a nap. He just took a nap for a long time and didn't hear any movement. Opening his eyes, he pretended to be angry and said, "Why, don't you believe me? Are you afraid that I will peek?" Yang Qiao hurriedly explained, "No, no." Even to prove herself, she began to unbutton her clothes before Wu Wei closed his eyes. How could Wu Wei close his eyes after seeing this? A man couldn't stand such a body. Yang Qiao took off her coarse cloth jacket, leaving only a vest on her upper body. The strong capital was immediately revealed. From Wu Wei's perspective, it was a mountain, connected by mountains and rivers. Suddenly, a sudden thunder exploded above his head. Caught off guard, Yang Qiao covered her head and face. Wu Wei watched the mountain fall down with his eyes, and he hugged the person, over. A thought flashed through his mind, "Brother Xiao, go with peace of mind, I will take care of your wife." Thunder and rainstorms. In this environment, no one would disturb the two people in the shack. There won't even be a dog. I don't know how long it took, the clouds cleared and the rain stopped. The sky outside gradually brightened. The sun also showed its face from the clouds, casting rays of sunlight. Yang Qiao was dazzled by the sudden sunlight. Just like the light of Wu Wei, which had shone into her originally dark and boundless life in the past month. Yang Qiao suddenly felt that she was alive. Even the whole person was shining with light. It turns out that life can be so vivid and so joyful. At the same time, Wu Wei recalled the exhilaration just now, just like a dream shining into reality. In his dreams, he often pushed the millstone, and pushed it all night. Now the reality is really pushing it, but it just didn't push it that long. Fortunately, there is a long way to go. Go back and move out of that house quickly. I'll rent you a house in the county and get you a temporary residence permit. Yes. After saying this, Wu Wei took out a cigarette and lit a match. It is said that a cigarette after the event is better than a living god. Wu Wei took a deep puff and realized that it was a lie. He decisively pinched off the cigarette butt and pushed it again. Fortunately, the fields after the rain were still muddy, and no one would come for a while. Time soon reached evening. The clothes hung on the wooden sticks had already dried thoroughly. The two put on their clothes, took the blueprints, pushed out the 28 bar, stepped on the mud, left the shack, and headed straight for the rural road. Not long after, they returned to the intersection of Daowen village. Yang Qiao was too embarrassed to even go to Wu Wei's house, so she parted ways with Wu Wei at the entrance of the village and said, "I'll go back to Jianzhuang village first, and then go back to Xiao's house to pack my luggage." Wu Wei nodded and did not stop him. He just stuffed the 40 yuan salary into the other party's hand and said, "I'll take care of everything. Don't do everything yourself in the future." Yang Qiao's beautiful eyes moved. She had never heard any touching love words. But Wu Wei's words touched her very much. Moved, she only took 2 big unity notes and stuffed the rest back to Wu Wei, saying, "This is enough. The rest is still in your hands." After saying that, he turned around and left with a brisk pace. Wu Wei rode on the 28 bar bicycle and pedaled to his yard. Xiaochun came out and looked behind him and said, "Where is Qiao?" Wu Wei parked the bicycle and said calmly, "She just got paid and went back to her parents' home." After saying that, he handed the 180 yuan he earned from this job to Xiaochun. Qiao celebrated Women's Day on March 8, and you Yanzu didn't express your gratitude. PS1, I won't pretend anymore. I'm going to be frank. The difference between this article and Carpenter is that it's a harem article. PS2, harem is really hard to write, the masters are really awesome. PS3, since this is my first attempt, I'm not sure. If you like it, please express it, otherwise I will attribute it to my inability to grasp this kind of writing. So love should be expressed in action, and if you have votes, please give them all. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 49. After giving the money to his third sister, Wu Wei felt a little absent-minded. I was worried about Qiao in my heart and felt a little uneasy. When he came back to his senses, he found that his third sister, Xiaochun, was even more absent-minded than himself. Whenever there was money coming home, Xiaochun was very happy and couldn't wait to count the money. This time I held more than a dozen cards in my hand, but I still didn't count them. He followed himself silently back to the main room. Cai said slightly excitedly, "Second brother, do you know that Qiao is free and does not need to make up for the betrothal gift?" Wu Wei suddenly realized that it was because of this. So much so that his face didn't show too much surprise or happiness. But having said that, the village came forward pretty quickly. "I just took care of Qiao, and my worries have been solved here." It's timely rain. Xiaochun looked in her eyes and was filled with doubts. But soon, she came to her senses and said, "Second brother, did you ask someone to do this for you? Third sister is really smart as ice. He is simply a genius when it comes to observing people's emotions and understanding people." Wu Wei smiled and said, "That's right, when I was drinking with Mr. Wu yesterday, I asked him to do it." Xiaochun immediately realized, then we have to back up the generous gift and thank fifth master properly. Wu Wei said, "How can one portion be enough?" Xiaochun said at once, "Yes, the fifth master decided to ask the old party secretary to handle this matter. The old party secretary may have even instigated the village chief and women's director." "Oops, this is a lot." Wu Wei quickly interrupted, "It doesn't take that much, just 3 servings. Xiaochun asked, "Which 3 copies?" Wu Wei blurted out, 3 copies are about the same, one for each of the branch secretary Chiao, the 4th master, and the 5th master's family. If the village chief and women's director need to send it, party secretary Chiao will make it clear." 4th master, Xiaochun frowned, but before his eyebrows even knitted together, he realized, 4th master, is this purely a gift from Shunliu? This is the truth. Wu Wei corrected his sister, "Don't say that, the 4th master also wants to come out with me to help. It is also appropriate to give him a share. After all, in his previous life, during his apprenticeship, he often fooled around with the 4th master. Several times, after drinking, the 4th master would be there with the 5th master, fighting for him. He said that he was his disciple." Xiaochun understood and began to take stock of the inventory at home. There are still 4 cartons of cigarettes and 2 bottles of wine at home. At least 4 more bottles of wine and 2 more cigarettes must be added. Yesterday I received a lot of loose cigarettes and wine here and there, about 10 packs of cigarettes and 3 to 5 bottles of wine, but I couldn't get rid of them. In this case, it will cost at least 70 or 80. Finished with a murmur. Xiaochun followed Wu Wei and sat down, first counting the big balls in his hand twice. Then he pointed out 8 cards and said, "Second brother, these are enough." At the same time, he handed the remaining 10 sheets back to Wu Wei, "You can take these for use on the construction site. After all, he is such a big foreman, with 3 or 5 projects under his control. I don't have a penny on me, is that okay?" Wu Wei didn't answer at first and asked, "Where are you at home?" "Don't worry about it at home," Xiaochun said with a beaming eyebrow, "I've saved over 100 yuan from selling fake collars these days." In this case, Wu Wei accepted it with confidence. The brother and sister finished chatting about business. Only then did Xiaochun remember to mention it and said, "By the way, second brother, there is something I forgot to tell you yesterday." Wu Wei hummed. Xiaochun K continued, "When Mrs. Chang came here yesterday, she also said that she would give you a wife." Wu Wei's eyes lit up, "Master's wife came to marry her, she came to marry Yuyan." Xiaochun cursed in her heart. The second brother really still preferred sister Yuyan in his heart. But he said, "No, how can a mother come forward to propose marriage to her daughter? She is here to propose marriage to sister Moli." Wu Wei suddenly realized and laughed and said, "Why is Chiao Moli taking part in this matter? Chiao Moli is the same as Chiao Kuliang. Although I was born and grew up in the countryside, I still follow the latest trends and stay ahead of the trends of the times." Wearing sunglasses, bell-bottoms, and sachiko shirts, she didn't follow any of these trends. If you leave it in the countryside, it is not suitable for living at home. In comparison, Chiao Yuyan's family background is not bad, but her character is much more stable. Wu Wei came back to his senses and decided to cut through the mess quickly. "Forget it, leave her alone. First, return the favor to the old party secretary, and then talk." Xiaochun sighed softly and began to speak for Chiao Chiao, "Second brother, this time for Chiao Chiao, Our family also spent $156. If Chiao Chiao finds out, he will definitely pay me back the money. Then don't let her know, Wu Wei said without hesitation. Besides, we've spent the money well. Xiaochun immediately realized that these words contained a lot of information. Unfortunately, Wu Wei had already reacted and covered it up with just one sentence. It's better for us to spend 156 yuan to give to Party Secretary Jiao, 4th Master and 5th Master than to spend 500 yuan on Jiao Jiao, that old guy from Xiao Dekai's family, to beat up dogs with meat buns. There's nothing wrong with that. After Xiaochun nodded, he patted his knees and stood up, saying, yes. I'll cook. At the same time, Yang Chiao Chiao, who left Daowen village, also rushed to Jianzhuang village. This is the first time she has returned to her parents' home since Xiao Wei left. But the mood was completely different. Even though she was still a little sore during her steps, it couldn't stop her brisk pace. It turns out that this is what a real man feels like. Unfortunately, as soon as she entered the village, Yang Chiao Chiao realized something was wrong. Why are all the people in the village who were once familiar with each other avoiding me? Even children ran away when they saw her. She looked like she had seen a deadly star. Yang Chiao Chiao stopped at a store at the entrance of the village, and saw that Ji Laoa, who ran the store, was afraid to look at her directly. It was true. Yang Chiao Chiao understood that her husband had died just 1 month after she got married. This made the villagers think she was the nemesis of men. Fortunately, after understanding it, Yang Chiao Chiao did not complain about it. Instead, she was more grateful to her man. She turned around and bought 2 canned foods, 2 bags of golden fruits, and a handful of candy in Ji Lao's store. She spent more than 10 yuan, put all of them in a net bag, and carried them. Then she went straight to her mother's home, which is now her brother Yang Gang's home. As a result, from a distance, she saw many women in the village gathered in front of her brother's house to watch the fun. Each of them chewed cucumbers and tomatoes in their hands. The front line of the entire village intelligence station. Yang Chiao Chiao took a deep breath, quickened her pace, and went forward. The next moment, she saw her sister-in-law Xiao Lan, guarding the gate with a single man standing guard against 10,000 men. Her brother Yang Gang squatted in the corner outside the gate and smoked. This posture, how could the villagers not laugh at it? Even so, Yang Chiao Chiao still stepped forward and said, "Brother, sister-in-law, I came back to see you." Xiao Lan cursed, "You are a jinx, you killed my brother, and you come back to hurt us. Go away, get out, this family doesn't welcome you." Yang Chiao Chiao looked at Yang Gang. It's okay to be rumored to be a jinx or a jinx by outsiders, but it's really hurt to be said by your own family. Who would marry into the family after being reborn? Author, Ben Pao de Ba Ling Ho. Chapter 50. Yang Gang's silence was particularly deafening. Not only that, from beginning to end, he didn't even raise his head to look at his sister, who he used to rely on for life. One goes down and the other goes up. Xiao Yan's curses became more fierce and fierce. The ladies around were chewing cucumbers and persimmons, and the chatter gradually became louder. Yang Chiao Chiao clenched the net bag in her hand and was about to turn around and leave. Suddenly, a slightly older woman in her 30s emerged from the crowd and approached Yang Chiao Chiao. "Chiao Chiao, are you working in the county with Master Wu? I went to Daowen yesterday and I think I saw you." This was the first person who took the initiative to talk to him after returning to the village. Yang Chiao Chiao forced out a smile and said, "Aunt Wang, it's true that I am working as a small worker with Master Wu." Aunt Wang immediately said with excitement on her face, "Then you have really met a noble man. Master Wu is so powerful that people from all over the country want to work with him." When people get excited, their voices inevitably rise. Plus, Aunt Wang has a loud voice. Now all the ladies around heard it. Aunt Wang was no longer satisfied with just talking, and even started to hold hands and said, "Oh, look, when Xiao Qiao met this noble man, he even spoke in a foreign manner. He used to talk about me, but now he starts talking about me. Xiao Qiao, when you turn around and see Master Wu, please tell me that I want to do odd jobs with him." Good guy. Upon hearing this, the women who had been eating melons before suddenly rushed out, grabbed Yang Xiao Qiao and said, "I am the same, Xiao Qiao." The situation reversed in an instant. Yang Xiao Qiao realized that Wu Wei brought all this to her. A genuine smile appeared on her pretty face. It becomes more and more convinced that she must meet a noble person and live well. Xiao Lan, whose mouth was dry from scolding, was dumbfounded. She also heard about Master Wu. In the past 2 days, she also encouraged Yang Gang to give some gifts to people and get a small job. Unexpectedly, Xiao Qiao has already had sex with someone. At this time, Xiao Lan felt that he could not get off the stage. It doesn't matter if she can't get off the stage. Isn't there a tool man next to him? Yang Gang was looking at his younger sister Xiao Qiao in surprise, who was surrounded and admired by the village ladies. It wasn't until Xiao Lan fed him 3 times that he heard and turned around. Then he looked at his wife's eyes. Did she want him to invite his sister into the house? Yang Gang couldn't believe it. He looked at his wife and signaled 3 times. Then he saw her twist her waist and go back to the house. Only then was he convinced. The next moment, Yang Gang pushed aside the crowd and pulled Yang Xiao Qiao back home. After all, how could he not love his sister after being together for so many years? It's just that he is cowardly. As soon as Yang Xiao Qiao was taken away, Aunt Wang and the others lost someone to fawn over, so they turned their ridicule onto Yang Gang and his wife. Yang Gang led his sister home, turned around and closed the door. Come on, out of sight, out of mind. At this time, sister-in-law Xiao Lan just changed her face as if she had gone back to the house, and came out with a smile and said, "Xiao Qiao, you came just as you said you would, what else are you buying?" In this way, Yang Xiao Qiao reluctantly said. Xiao Lan accepted the gift in his hand. "Anyway, I bought these just to visit them." Now that she took it away, she just threw it away. Entered the main room. Everything is still the same as in memory, except that happy words and red couplets are plastered everywhere. It feels strange. Yang Xiao Qiao suddenly realized that she would never be able to return to this home. A married woman throws out water. Even though she worked hard on the river, working at sunrise and resting at sunset, it took a lot of effort to add bricks and tiles to the family. When she came back to her senses, a glass of boiling water was handed to her hand. It is the temperature that cannot be entered. Xiao Lan pulled her to sit down and said, "Xiao Qiao, you see that you are familiar with Master Wu, can you introduce your brother to do a small job?" Yang Xiao Qiao glanced at her brother. When there was a river worker in the team, he wouldn't go. Now I want to work hard with my man to make money. Isn't this cheating my man? He immediately rejected it and said, "Sister-in-law, small jobs are hard work. My brother can't do it." Xiao Lan seemed to understand this, and turned to say, "What about other chores, casual work, and lighter work? There is always someone to do it, right? You can ask Master Wu to help arrange it." Yang Xiao Qiao shook her head. She would rather help Aunt Wang with the message than introduce her brother to trick Wu Wei. "Sister-in-law, I don't have that ability." Xiao Lanyu didn't give up and said, "Xiao Qiao, don't say no yet. Look at how handsome you are, think of something to do." This is almost as clear as a statement. Yang Xiao Qiao stood up suddenly, but her voice became colder and colder. "Sister-in-law, am I not the star of Sangman? Am I not Keifu? No matter how handsome I am, who dares to want me?" Then he looked at his brother, put it in his right pocket, and held the big unity card. After hesitating for a moment, he still didn't take it out. She originally planned to give the $10 to her brother and sister-in-law. Now it seems that it is better not to waste it. Use it to buy cigarettes and wine for your men, how nice it is. As for the canned food and golden fruits that were sent out, they were just like meat buns used to beat dogs. Anyway, she will never return to this home again. Determined, Yang Qiao walked away with a long stride. No matter how much my brother and sister-in-law tried to persuade me to stay, they never stopped. Walking to the entrance of the village in one breath, 2 lines of tears fell silently. Until a gentle call came, Qiao Qiao. Yang Qiao quickly wiped away her tears, forced a smile, turned around, and saw Aunt Wang behind her carrying half a bag of melons and said, Qiao Qiao, there is nothing good at home. These melons are still presentable. Yesterday when I went to Master Wu's house, I saw that everyone brought gifts. Please help me take them over. Yang Qiao evaded, no, Aunt Wang, I will take the words to you. Aunt Wang was very reasonable and said, that won't work. How can you open your mouth without a gift? As she said that, she stuffed the bag to Yang Qiao. By the way, where do you work? If Master Wu wants me, I will go directly there. Yang Qiao took the melon and told the truth. Leaving Qianzhuang village, Yang Qiao carried half a bag of melons. He was more prepared for the situation of returning to Xiao's house. Fortunately, this was the last time to return to that place. No matter how embarrassing it is, I will just treat them as farts and let them go. The key is to serve my man well. After returning to the third group of Daowen village, Yang Qiao first found a place far away to hide half a bag of melons. To avoid throwing meat buns at dogs again, which would be a waste. Then she straightened her clothes and returned to the Xiao family in a decent manner. As soon as she entered the door, she saw Qiao smiling and greeted her, Qiao is back. Wash your hands and eat. Yang Qiao was slightly surprised. When she saw the sumptuous fish and meat feast on the table in the main hall, she was even more surprised. Could it be that the dog has changed to eat shit?